Hello, everyone. This is Keith Seymour with Keith Seymour and Real Talk. I'm here with my friend Albert Bruce Moore here. He's a little shy. Says he didn't want to be on camera because uh, he doesn't like attention. But I think he's trying to get over New Year's. But you know, you know. Actually, just kidding. He's okay, but well, so he claims. Anyway, what we're talking about today is everything that basically since the November election, and we're about to have former and President-elect Donald Trump. Oh, he's going to join us after all.
No, you need to be on camera.
Uh, in office in about 2 weeks. So we're going to discuss various things, his picks, um, policies, and Bruce, you want to pick the first thing that we talk about, or what?
I mean, it's up to you.
Okay, well let's talk about let's talk about some of his policies, that he has put forth. And I know you don't think much of the that Constitution can be overridden, but hey, uh, where he's, for instance, those people born in the United States can be shipped out. You can't do this. This is a violation of the 14th Amendment. You have to have another amendment to actually do that. There's no way you're going to get 2/3 in both houses at this point, um, and much less 2/3 vote in both houses and 3/5 of the states to ratify it. So a lot of things that Trump says that he's going to do, he can't do constitutionally. Um, just as, in all fairness, when Harris said that she was going to codify abortion in law, she cannot do that for exactly the same reason. Um, I think, as far as his picks, I have, he's had some trouble with some of them others, and what's the one that's was Gates or whatever his name? He's was having he committed statutory rape, uh, basically of a 16 under Florida law at that time. Um, uh, he may not get through it. Um, I think the fact that Mike Johnson barely made it in this week is going to cause some problems. And let's be honest, a Trump endorsement for uh, an office is hardly definitive of um, employment security. He traditionally has dealt with the same thing that he did with on you're fired. Uh, so I think there are a lot of things that he can't get through. I think appointments like RFK Jr. are going to have a tough time of it. While he has some good things in regards to taking processed foods out of school, to create the policy that we take fluoride out of the water is not going to go well with either Democrats or Republicans. I think that Trump has to be very careful. Jump in whenever you think, because people, particularly our close allies overseas, such as Britain, tend to believe that because the party's in power, that the president can get through everything. This is not true. When Obama got in 2008, the Democrats controlled both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Okay? And uh, um, actually, it was, yeah, Obama.
Mhm.
And he said, oh, we're going to get through the Affordable Care Act 6 months tops. No problem. And he didn't. It took him almost 2 years.
Mhm.
He did not call that joint session in which our own South Carolina Congress friend of mine, Joe Wilson, called him a liar uh, for stating that illegal immigrants would not benefit from this. Um, he did not call that joint session to convince the Republicans. The Republicans were irrelevant. He called that joint session of Congress to convince members of his own party. Okay, and when the Affordable Care Act went through, the Republicans benefited in the midterms and made Obama's life miserable for the rest of his for that term and even through his next term. Um, so we don't need, that what the media's saying is that, oh well, he's got no. That's not the way it works. Um, what are your concerns about
About what?
what's going to happen in 2025?
Oh, I guess it's Project 2025, and that slowly but surely being implemented.
Oh, the thing from the Heritage. Okay, look, there may be aspects of that are implemented, but it's not. Trump says he didn't have anything to do with that.
So just because they don't have anything to do with it doesn't mean that he doesn't support it. That doesn't mean he won't implement it. That will mean that it won't be put into practice.
Okay, think tanks though exist in Washington D.C. for Democrats and Republicans and everyone in between. Okay, and they lay out what they would like to see in a platform, but all they are is political lobby groups. And they basically have limited power. There's a lot of stuff, even if Trump was able, did endorse it, such as that he would not be able to get through for reasons I've already stated. For example, uh, the uh, the not allowing babies born in the United States to people who are illegal immigrants, they do not get legal citizenship. You have to pass an amendment for that. Okay, right now there are only 50 of the 100 senators, 53, not including the vice president elect. Okay, are Republican. Okay, and in the House of Representatives, the majority has been brought down to a 2-person lead. There's enough partisanship in both houses that the Republicans and the Democrats are not likely to vote together, or certainly not enough to have a 2/3 vote in both houses to take this to a constitutional amendment, at which point 3/5 of the 50 states, that's about what, 35, 36 states, have to ratify it within a 7-year period.
Let me ask you this question. What was the ruling on the Supreme Court when it came to the presidential and immunity?
Well, we discussed this before the show, and that was basically that anything that he did while in office pertaining to his office was not, he was not allowed to be prosecuted on. However, if he committed crimes such as in bribing Stormy Daniels, hush money thing, which is why that case is going forward, or election interference, he can be prosecuted on that. I think where you're going with this is he can. That's not going to make a difference. The 14th Amendment is not going to make a difference. Okay, you can't override you can't override the 14th Amendment. You have the Supreme Court would tell you, I'm sorry, you can't do that. If that ends up in a lawsuit, if he tries that, and that ends up in the Supreme Court, they're going to say, look, this passed with the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment. They're kind of like, triads. You can't. You have to have an amendment. The last time an amendment was overturned with another amendment was when the 20th Amendment overturned prohibition in 1933. Okay, the last time a new law was created that the Supreme Court created, stated as unconstitutional, was in 1913, which is when gave us the 16th Amendment, which gave us the income tax, federal income tax. And the last time there was a 2/3 vote in both houses was the 1970s. That was the Equal Rights Amendment. And the U.S. Supreme Court, when that was over, and this included Sandra Day O'Connor, unanimously extended the life of that until it ended in like 1985, and it still didn't pass by 3/5. I think it was 2 states. So it's not that easy. So if that's where you're going, please don't go there.
That's not where I'm going. How about you just answer the question I'm asking so we have a conversation?
Oh, okay.
And quit trying to preemptively strike something.
Okay, fair enough. So as I said, it said that if he commits an act in regards to his duties, as I understand it, his official duties, then he cannot be
prosecuted. That's one of the key things in Project 2025. You see, it's a little bit of a trickle down and little knick-knock here and there. All he needs, like you said, the House and the Senate. Now, a few other things that's talked about.
Well, but he needs.
Well, can I finish? Because you've just been speaking. Can I at least?
Okay.
Yeah. Like I was saying, he wants to. Project 2025 talks about centralization of power in the executive branch, elimination or reconstruction of federal agencies, politicization of federal government, impact of social policies, environmental deregulations, And feasible and operational risks, such as implementing such sweeping reforms within a short time frame, could lead to, well, that would lead to inefficiencies, legal challenges, and resistance from entrenched bureaucracies. The hang on a second, just shows the functionality.
Okay, while you're looking that up, let me address one of those right now.
And which one is that?
And that is the what was the first one? The
Centralization of the executive branch.
centralization of the executive branch. If the implication is there, and tell me
It's
if
not
I'm
the implication, it's sort of in play with that Supreme Court ruling, which was the whole reason I brought
if
it up.
are you saying that he can extend how many terms a president can serve?
That's not what I'm saying. Again, you're preemptively striking. You're
Okay.
not listening to what I just said. What did the Supreme Court rule upon? That the president will not be held liable as long as he's doing things within the confines of what the president's duty is, right?
Mhm.
Some of those things are uses of military action, legislative orders, executive orders, things of that nature. The Supreme Court putting that into play is already step one of Project 2025. That's the point I'm making in the first part. So this idea that it's nothing to be concerned about, one of the architects, if not the writer of it, is part of his branch. I mean, as a cabinet. I think it's something that we need to consider.
Proposed cabinet.
Okay, propose. But overall, I don't think it's something we need to completely ignore.
Okay, no.
That's one of the things for
nothing,
me. I mean,
nothing should be completely ignored.
Well, that's why you're saying it. Because like none of this can happen unless X, Y, and Z. It's like I hear what you're saying in that, but I'm telling you what is happening. But I'm telling you what is happening and how it's being implemented as we speak.
But the centralization, just that wording to me implies that basically the president can override the Congress.
That's what you're implying it. That's not exactly what it's saying.
Okay, but that's
how you want to imply it.
That's how
I mean, an executive order can do that to some degree until it's challenged upon.
Well, no, not entirely. True.
I said to some degree.
Okay.
False, true or false? To some degree. You said not entirely, so there has to be some truth.
Well, at how a constitution works, let me explain.
No. I need you to answer the question.
It's not a straight yes or no.
Okay, but that's saying Congress can't go back and challenge it. But could an executive order just bypass it? Because Congress can come back and challenge it, be like, no, we don't want to do it. They can take it to the Supreme Court and be like, no, the president can't do that. I'm not arguing that.
Executive orders are things that are put forth by the president.
Well, duh.
They can be challenged by
exactly,
Congress.
But they can be put through. That's the point I'm making. I want you to listen to what I'm asking you.
Executive order is something that it's a privilege of the president. Okay. The way our government is set up is a 2/3 veto in both houses can override a presidential veto. A presidential veto.
Yeah, I never said it couldn't be overridden.
A presidential veto cannot override a 2/3.
Did I say
veto? Okay, I'm just saying.
But did I say it could? I want you to answer the questions I'm asking you.
No, you didn't say it.
Okay, then. So you're going over something I never even mentioned.
Exactly. Okay, but see, project right. the centralization.
Go ahead and have
of the way it comes off. Okay, unless it's explained to most people, is the centralization of the president. Is that the president can, well, like in England, the prime minister can say, well, this person's a part of my party. He didn't do the way I want. He said something that I didn't like. We're going to take what they call the whip. Okay, in other words, he's suspended or he's kicked out of the party. Okay.
You use an example that's not the United States. Let me
Okay. No.
explain. No, no,
But
no,
but
stop,
but
stop. No,
but.
no, 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 no. Let me explain the executive order. An executive order is like when the president of the United States writes a special set of instructions for how the government should do something without needing permission from Congress. Think of it like this, everyone. Imagine you're in charge of a big team, like a coach or a sports team. You tell players from now on, everyone has to wear socks during practice. You didn't ask the team parents or the league for permission. You made the decision on your own because you're the coach and it's your job. The president does something similar with an executive order. They uses their boss powers to give directions to the government workers or departments they're in charge of, like military, national park, immigration offices. But here's the catch. They can't break the rules. The president orders must follow the law already made by Congress and the Constitution. People can challenge them, and well, no, people can challenge them. If someone thinks it's unfair or illegal, they can take it to court. I.e., if Congress or the Senate, your House of Representatives, whoever finds an issue with it, they can challenge it, which is what I said. So, in a way, the president gets things done quickly without having to go through the red tape of bureaucracy, but there are limits to it.
Okay, fair enough. Like, for instance,
you see, for instance, I already explained it. So I explained executive order.
I'm addressing one of your things about the elimination of departments. For example, one of Trump's cabinet members, no, he was Elon Musk actually, who's not even an official cabinet member, but wants to do away with the Department of Education. Trump did not need the Supreme Court to give that order, to do that ruling, to actually do away with the Department of Education, because the Department of Education was created by Jimmy Carter.
What's your point?
By an executive order. So an executive order put the Department of Education in made it a cabinet office. So if Trump wants to do away with the Department of Education, hypothetically, for the exact same reason, then he was already well within his rights before that Supreme Court ruling even occurred. Okay? Because that's how it was put into effect the first time. Every cabinet department has been put into effect by an executive order. The first was the Department of War, which is now known as the State Department. Okay? By George Washington. Okay? So
let me ask you, do you think Trump's not going to try to do anything that's considerably illegal while in office?
I think he's going to be more careful not to.
You think he'll be careful not to?
I think he knows, and I agree with those pundits in the media that say he knows how the presidency works now, and so he's going to.
I think that's one of the reasons why he made sure or wanted to stack the course with as much Republicans to get that immunity in play. Because he's going to do some fine line fishy stuff that could be considered illegal. But
again, that, and I said this in a previous broadcast, just because the Supreme Court is made up of a majority of that reflects the presidents, doesn't mean they are going to always rule for them. The case in point, and I pointed this out before, Justice Brennan was appointed by Republican Eisenhower. Eisenhower later said that was the biggest mistake he ever made. Why? Because 20, 30 years down the line, Brennan began to look at the times in context with the Constitution. Reagan.
I don't trust people nowadays.
Reagan
We live in a much different world back then.
let me finish.
No, I'm saying we live in a much
Reagan.
different. Hang on, we live in a much different world we did back then.
Well, Reagan appointed Sandra Day O'Connor, an extremely conservative judge from the state of Texas. She later would be the fifth vote in a 5-4 vote that would make sodomy laws in the state of Constitution and in the state of Texas and throughout this country unconstitutional, because what people do in their own homes is their own business. And that was later used by the Supreme Court under Obama as a precedent for forcing states, whether they liked it or not, to acknowledge. So judges are, and this is why judges are appointed for life, an average of 30 or 40 years on the bench, and because they have to look at constitutional law in terms of the times in which we live, as well as what the founding fathers meant.
But does that mean it should have a lifelong appointment? Times change and people's mentality don't.
Yes,
no,
it does.
No. People's mentality don't change, because even you still think like you did 30 years ago when so much has changed. No. You still hang on to some ideas and beliefs that are a little dated. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I am saying that when it comes to law, you do have to kind of reconsider a few things. Conservatives want things to be what they've always been. But the problem with time is it keeps going forward. You can't just keep having things the way it used to be. But that's all I keep hearing. What's the motto of the Trump campaign? Make America Great Again, implying what? Go back to a time that I liked as opposed to now. Most Republicans don't like change. And I'm not saying all change is good change. I'm just saying that most don't like change.
Okay.
And that's why I don't think you should have lifetime appointancy in Supreme Courts.
But, you would rather have it for 18 years like Biden wanted it?
Well, I don't know, but it needs to be limits, because some people also get to the point where their minds can leave them. It's called dementia. Okay. Some people can be in bad health.
But then there are steps already in place to have them taken off the court.
But they don't. None of those steps are ever put in place. You had Clarence Thomas, who you can argue has already created some form of conflict of interest with the bribes, gifts, depending on what side of the fence they're on, that he receives.
Okay, fair.
So you say that's fair. Implying that's fair should go to indicate there needs to be a limit.
No. There's not a limit, because the founding fathers, when the founding fathers
created a lot of Constitution, they weren't anticipating a lot of what we have in today's society.
Okay, fair. But also, when the founding fathers did what they did, they saw the term limits that existed on the British Supreme Court with lords and ladies and all that. And they saw how it affected that was to be affected, that whoever was in office as prime minister, their political preferences had to, and if they wanted to stay judge, we don't have to have. The fact is, Roe v. Wade was overturned because those judges genuinely believed were genuinely against abortion. And quite frankly, I'm glad it was overturned.
Yeah, I bet you were. I know that's not the point you see using this one example. Hang on, let me make this point. Supreme Court justices serve for life, meaning to overturn. Wait a minute. You know what? Actually, Roe v. Wade is a good example, because had we just keep the same people in place for as long as we did and not had no switch out because of deaths, would have ever gotten overturned? Ruth Bader Ginsburg death is what kind of helps move that along. No, but to that point though, would that have helped? What if we just kept having judges that believed in this for a lot longer? You know?
It would have eventually been overturned.
Why?
For the same reason that Plessy v. Ferguson was overturned.
But why did it take so? But it took Ruth Bader Ginsburg to die and a new appointee to come in to have it overturned.
It was
True or false? Is that a true statement?
no.
It's not a true statement.
It helped. It didn't hurt.
Okay, so if she was still alive, hypothetically, would Roe v. Wade be overturned today?
No, because it would have been a 5-4 rather than
Okay,
6-3.
so again, hypothetically, if she didn't die, would it have been overturned?
No. Yes, it would have been overturned because it would have been.
Told me no. You just said no.
I meant because it would have been a 5-4 instead of a 6-3 decision.
Term limits would allow for more diverse justices to be appointed over time, which could better reflect the diversity of American society, including race, gender, and socioeconomic background. It would also give more opportunities for younger, diverse voices to shape the courts. Is that a false statement?
Okay, that's why we have a court system that is state Supreme Court, and then it's the regional federal court,
I know we're talking about
and then it's
court.
okay. That's why we have these judges appointed. For example, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, okay, Planned Parenthood sued South Carolina Citizens for Life on the Heartbeat Act. Now, they had successfully had that overturned by the federal regional court, and we went back and we did everything that they asked us to do, and it passed. During that time, shortly after that, at some point after that, Roe v. Wade was overturned. They sued under the Heartbeat Bill, which includes exceptions for rape, incest, life of mother and child.
What's your point?
Okay,
to this?
I'm getting to it.
No, just get
okay.
To it. Just get to it.
It got taken to the federal court and was decided on by Daniel Coble, the son of
Bob Coble.
Exactly. Okay. A liberal, okay. A conservative.
What
liberal.
Is your point, Seymour?
Coble said that because of the Supreme Court ruling of Roe v. Wade, I can't use my personal opinion here. I've got to go with what the Supreme. Okay, they've done what you've asked to do. It's legal.
What are you trying to say?
So the federal court for this district, although it was headed by a judge who is a bleeding heart liberal,
yeah,
he ruled in favor of the state of South Carolina because Roe v. Wade was found not to be constitutional. Now, are you saying that because a precedent has been set, something shouldn't be overturned?
What precedent was set exactly?
Are you saying
no? What precedent was set?
The precedent of Roe v. Wade being established. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the precedent. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that a precedent should never be overturned?
I don't. What's the example exactly again?
The precedent.
I know what a precedent is. I'm asking because that's why I'm asking you to get to the point. Okay. You go to this long story, and it's
are you saying that because the Supreme Court rules on something one way, that ruling should never be overturned?
I'm saying that you.
Yes or no?
Oh yeah, I'm going to say that if you bring in different appointees and they make a different discernment, it could be overturned.
Okay, well,
it could be overturned.
It was 50 years, 49 and a half years. So there were different.
So are you saying that it should be overturned? That's why I don't understand your question.
I agree with this. Quite honestly, I personally agree.
I know you agree with it, but you're not making your question clear to me. That's the thing I'm having trouble with.
I am saying.
You're saying that should the precedent be overturned? Should what be overturned? Should Roe v. Wade be overturned because
should any precedent that is ruled as constitutional by the Supreme Court. Let's say,
So what was constitutional by Supreme Court in this case? Roe v. Wade?
yeah,
So that was constitutional?
no, that the people in 1972, 73,
Hang on, Seymour, answer my question. Was Roe v. Wade constitutional?
the court ruled in 1973 that it
Yes
was
or no? Was it constitutional?
under the 1973 ruling.
It is or isn't?
Well, it's not
No,
constitutional.
I'm asking you. See, that's what I'm asking you. Is Roe v. Wade, in the time of this question you're asking, is it constitutional?
It's no, it's not constitutional.
Okay, then. Your question is.
But my president is.
No, wait.
Roe v. Wade.
Stop. I'm piecing this together. Stop talking and answer the questions I'm asking directly. In your questioning, is Roe v. Wade constitutional? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, then. You're asking if Coble making the decision he made was the right choice. Is that something I would agree with? Is that what you're asking?
No, that's not what I'm asking.
That's
Because
what
Coble was.
What are you asking?
Okay. I'm asking the precedent set here in 1973 was that 9 people, all men.
No, what's the precedent? Don't give me the details. What's the precedent?
That abortion was legal and that the states did not have a right to decide on it. That is what they decided.
That was the precedent. That the abortion was legal and the states couldn't make a decision. That's the precedent? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the precedent.
All right.
Now, what's your question towards that precedent?
Okay. My question is, obviously you agree.
No. What's your precedent? What's the question you're asking?
Are you saying that any Supreme Court ruling that has...
Seymour, what's your exact question? Please make it short and simple.
Okay, it's simple. Are you saying that any Supreme Court ruling that establishes something as constitutional should never be overturned? Yes or no?
Should never be overturned? No, not never be overturned. No.
Okay.
Never be overturned? No.
Why?
Culture changes.
Exactly. And that's what happened here. And
what's your point to that then?
Okay, the Supreme Court ruling was faulty in 1973.
Okay, faulty or not, what's your point to this exactly? Because my whole thing is there should be term limits. My whole reason for term limits is because culture does change. My issue with culture changing is that people who sit in these seats may not understand that change, so hence that's why you got to turn them out.
The cultures have and again, that goes back to my examples of Justice Brennan and Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. Okay, they looked at the Constitution in context to the culture of the day. Okay, so when there was a 5-4 ruling, Sandra Day O'Connor.
Well, what exactly? Well, let's ask this question: what changed in the culture for abortion to be overturned? I mean, for Roe v. Wade to be overturned, what changed in the culture? Because that seems to be where you're going with this. So let me just ask that question since you want to use that as the example. Because I'm not trying to use any court ruling as an example. I'm just using people sticking to their old ways as an example. So what changed in the culture for Roe v. Wade to be overturned?
No, and I'm disagreeing with you that judges are going to stick to their ways. And
this is why they should be this is why there should be term limits.
No. They don't have term limits because judges have to look at the rule of the law. They have to look at the culture, and they have to look at the Constitution.
Yeah, but at the same time,
they have to look at the arguments.
What part of the culture changed for Roe v. Wade to be overturned? Answer that. Because I answered your question, I answered mine.
The fact that there were a lot of people out there who believed it shouldn't have happened in the first place.
And there's a lot of people who believe it should. What's your point? That's been going on since the entire inception of the ruling. What change happened in the culture that you want to use to implement that's why this was overturned?
The argument for it staying equal protection under the law, or that which was and the 14th and the right to was faulty in 1973.
Okay, that's not okay. We get that, Seymour. Again, at the time in which Roe v. Wade was overturned, what was the significant change in culture that made the Supreme Court justice be like, we should overturn this? After all these years, maybe we should really overturn this now. What was that change that made them make that decision? Was it a cultural change or was it a seating change?
It was probably a combination of both.
But what was the cultural change then? You say it's probably
the people.
Seymour, people have been arguing that case since the beginning, though. What was the significant change in culture? Because guess what? People are still arguing to this day. States are selectively making the choices to keep abortion in play. So hang on, Seymour. If the states are still keeping it in play to keep abortion in play, then obviously the culture hasn't changed. But you're telling me the culture has. Because right now, it seems like more of a seating change that allowed for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. Okay. I'm asking you directly, what was the cultural change? Because it wasn't an increased number of conservatives. That's not what happened. Because you want to know how I know that didn't happen? Because Trump lost 2 popular elections.
The fact is, no. The fact is that people said, we don't want the government in our business. And the reply back, and the pro-life group. Well, let's move on because we're getting sidetracked.
No. Well, you see, you get sidetracked. You don't want to.
Okay.
You don't want to drive this whole conversation.
I am saying. Listen to me. Listen to me. Don't interrupt me. I am saying that the argument was, yes, you're right. The government should not be out of it. It should be left up to the states. If you live in a state that does not have an abortion, you go to another state, or you elect people in your state to.
What was the cultural change?
Okay, that was the cultural change.
That was not the cultural change. Because prove that was a cultural change. Because I can prove more so that it was a seating change. And you can prove it was a cultural
the seating change did take effect. Yes.
Okay, so the seating change took effect. Does that mean that there probably should be limits?
No.
Because you would have never got your Roe v. Wade overturned if those people not died.
Yes. Had Ginsburg not, it still would have been a 5-4 vote.
Trust me.
She's one person, and it was actually a 7. It was actually a 7-2 vote. Okay, but the point. The Supreme Court. Someone is going to die or resign in the next 4 years. Okay. The Senate approves whoever is appointed. Okay. And for the Senate to do that every 18 years is just not practical because we have other things to do. Okay. Go on with your other. No, I think even if you argue, and I agree with the decision, so I
know you do, but that's not. I don't care if you agree with it or not. That's not what I'm
asking.
But the point. This is not about whether you agree with it. My issue is the Supreme Court. My issue is that there's no term limits for a lot of these people in politics. The problem I also have is that too many old people run this nation, dude. Most folks really can't get out of what the past was. People romanticize the past so much that they think it was such a glorious place. But yet, a lot of us, when we were living in it, didn't really like it as much.
The Supreme Court is supposed to be non-political.
Yeah, but it is. That's the point I'm making. When Roe v. Wade was put into place, you said it was the wrong choice. Why was it the wrong choice? Was it political?
It was the wrong choice because...
But was it politically influenced? That's my question. For it to be the wrong choice, was it politically influenced?
It was a new issue in the 1970s. It was
but again, I'm asking you. You can think about it.
It was
listen. You don't have to answer immediately, because I'm just asking. Was it politically influenced?
No, I don't think it was.
Okay.
I think that it was something that was done in regards to the free love attitude of the 60s and
Oh, so that
70s.
sounds like a little bit of a cultural, somewhat political impact,
Okay.
huh? So you mean to tell me the culture had affected it? I guess you could say.
Yeah, and it turns out that the women who bought that suit are now pro life. That's the irony. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on. But we're not going to agree. But the
You know
other
what? Look, the other thing we're not agreeing that there should be limits. That's all I'm saying. There needs to be limits.
no,
I can really give a shit about the Roe v. Wade thing. You know my honest
we
opinion.
have limits on elected officials.
What's the limit on elected officials? What's their term limits? Because Mitch McConnell had to step down.
6 years for the senator. Um, 6 years for the senator, and the states decide whether they have those limits. That's the 10th Amendment issue. But it's 6 years for a senator, 4 years for a member of the House of Representatives, 4 years for president, and the states decide on of in each state whether there are term limits on their national representatives. That's a 10th Amendment issue. The president has term limits of no more than 2 terms. That has been established since 1940 something, after Roosevelt died. Okay.
You know what? You like things the way they are.
No, I don't. I think I don't agree with everything that a conservative says, and I don't disagree with everything that a liberal says. I'm being impartial.
I do think you like things the way they are for the most part.
No,
Well, what is it you don't like? Because let's go over those things.
Okay, I don't like the fact that we have a system of 2 parties, and that that the third or fourth party system, those who run an alternate parties, are not welcome to debate. I think that's wrong. But again, that's goes up to the media in the country. They run the debates and they make the rules as to who is invited and who is not Congress, not the Supreme Court, and not the president.
No, but definitely the elites.
Okay.
Because who runs these news corporations? The elites. Right? Who runs Fox News?
Okay. And by that,
who runs CNN? Who runs MSNBC?
Okay.
What I'm saying is, because we were speaking earlier,
and most of those elites that run the media organizations,
you're going to tell me the liberal?
It's exactly.
That's what you're going to say. You know what? This is how I know.
With the exception of
this
Fox.
is how I know. This is why I hate these discussions, because they're surface level to me. If you really think this is all liberal Republican, I know that you don't understand how deep this game gets. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but honestly, if you look at how things are being set up, it is really an hierarchy of the rich versus the lower of the poor and middle class. And if people can't see this by now, this country is going to be doomed to failure. It's been like this for a long time, but people's like, oh, well, you know, I'll just do it. No. It's not Democrats or Republicans. It's never been about Democrats or Republicans. Why do you think they don't want a third party in there? Because when you have two, you keep a good divide. When you start adding in more options, you start probably getting some little community going. But as long as you have a good divide, guess what? Your house can never stand. You'll always be able to take down the small masses.
So,
you're going to tell me Elon Musk had no effect on the election? You're going to really sit here and say he had zero effect on the election?
Oh, he had effect on
okay, then. You're going to tell me that most other millionaires and billionaires who pump money into these organizations have no effect on the election? Where do you think half these people even get the money to run these campaigns? One of the most expensive things you could do is run for president. So you can tell me that these people are liberal and Democrats. In the end of the day, it's just really about keeping people arguing and fighting amongst each other. That's why these whole things, that's why this whole conversation is a nebulous conversation. I'd rather talk about professional wrestling because at least they tell you in your face that it's fake.
Well, you know how I feel about conspiracy theories.
It's not a conspiracy theory when it's true. That's my thing about it. I feel like it's just true. Like, how can you look at Harris and say she was a legitimate candidate? How can you look at Trump and say he's a legitimate candidate? Yet those are the options.
And I voted for neither one.
Yet again, that didn't help anyone either. Because either one was going to be president.
Well, yes, and the one that became president was the best out of the
was
two
he
bad
really
choices,
the best?
In my opinion.
In his plan.
In my personal
you
opinion.
didn't vote for him. So how are you going to say he was the best?
Because it's better to go with the devil
you didn't even vote for him, though. So you can't even make that statement. Because you can't say it's better to go to the devil you know. You didn't choose a devil at all.
I agree with his more of his politics than I do with Harris.
What politics do you agree with?
I agree with his position on the border.
What's his position on the border?
That it needs to be controlled.
In what way? Because he wants to just keep people out.
If you're not over here legally, then you need to be kicked out.
But what about people who are over here legally that they still want to kick out?
Again, that's not going to happen.
Oh, I hear it's not going to happen, but that's not what I asked you. How do you feel about that?
If stance? You're over here,
no, that's not. You answer the stance I'm asking you. What about the people who are over here legally that they still want to kick out?
I don't deal with that because that's not something that's going to happen.
Okay, but even then, that's what he wants to do. You say you agree with his policy. That's a policy he wants to put in place.
But that is
regardless of whether he can do it or not. You understand that's a policy he campaigned on and wants to put in place.
Yeah, he wants to put in place.
You say you agree with his policy. So you mean to tell me you agree with a policy that he can't even execute? So
no,
you agree to? So you wanted to vote for?
I don't agree with all of his policies.
You just told me you just told me the policy. I asked you what you agreed with. You said his immigration. I asked you about his immigration. I'm telling you why his immigration is a bad plan. Now you're telling me it's a bad plan, but you just told me you agree with it.
No, I agree with his plan to kick all illegal immigrants out.
But his plan is also to kick out other immigrants as well.
Okay. Again,
I'm not saying he can. I'm telling you that's just what he wants to do.
I don't worry about something that's not likely to happen. It's not likely to happen. Okay, that's a campaign. That's campaign rhetoric.
Okay, so that's a campaign rhetoric.
No, that's something.
So why were you upset with Joe Biden when he let it go his son? I know you want to talk about that. Campaign rhetoric, right? You love to pick and choose the things you want.
No. Joe Biden said
throughout pick and choose.
Joe Biden said throughout his presidency that he was never going, and I always knew that he would go back on his word.
Yeah, but you still love to pick and choose. That's
no,
my thing. You like to pick and choose.
Okay, let's move on. We disagree.
I'm moving on because I'm going to talk about Biden now. I'm talking about him pardoning his son.
Okay.
And you seem to have a problem with that for some reason. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I have a problem with it because it makes. Don't interrupt me. It makes him look like a hypocrite.
Who isn't a hypocrite?
No. And Biden was elected on the fact that he was as honest as
who said that?
Those that elected him.
No. No, that's not what people said. No one in their right mind said Biden was honest. What they said was he's more honest than Trump. That's probably what they said. And in comparison to who he was going against. But no one ever said Biden didn't lie. Because you know what people also said about Biden? Career politician, never got anything done.
And he didn't.
Okay, then. So you're going to tell me he never lied? Like, no one ever said he didn't say that. Where did you get that talking point from? Tell me where you heard that. Where did you hear that Biden doesn't lie? Or that's what people thought?
He campaigned on the fact that I'm going to be here for all people. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, no. But yeah, a lot of people say that. But what was the person that said I'm voting for him because he doesn't lie? Because again, you just told me about campaign promises Trump made. Yeah, campaign lies, right? That's Isn't that what you just said about Trump?
See, people need to
That's
differentiate between what can happen and what's likely to happen and what's not likely to happen.
It doesn't matter about what's likely to happen, what does it? Because what I'm asking you is what. So you mentioned Trump. We talked about the policy. I just want to remind you how we got to this point. Because I asked you about Trump. You said he was a better candidate than Harris. I asked you why. You said you agree with his policies. I asked you what policy. You said immigration. When I gave you his immigration plan, you said, well, he just says things on the campaign trail to get elected.
Okay,
wait. So then we talk about Biden. I asked, why are you upset? Because Biden went back on his word saying he wasn't going to pardon his son. He said because people said he was an honest person. It's like, who told you he was honest? Hold on.
But Biden didn't only say that on the campaign trail. He said that throughout his presidency.
Hold on a second. Trump said he doesn't lie either throughout his presidency. What the hell is your point? People lie. I don't know if anyone knows this.
People.
Hold on.
I know people.
People lie. I don't know if you realize that. In case of 4 people watching, people lie. I'm going to lie right now and say 5 people are watching. It's only 4, but I just lied. You're an idiot.
Okay. Biden, I knew that Biden was going to go back on his word, but a lot of people I know who are more liberal than I am are like, oh no, he's not going to go back on his word. He's not. No, if he says he's not going to do. And I'm going to say something else. I think that Trump being elected may end up helping the Democrats in 2 years if they show up for the midterms, which they did last midterm, which was an anomaly, not an occurrence. But again, there's this misconception.
Everyone tuned out. See, you lost the audience, Seymour.
Okay, well, the fact is,
people like contentious talk. You don't.
Okay, the fact is that let's just go on to the next thing.
No, we're sticking with this. No, we're sticking with this. You got to explain yourself.
Okay.
Why are you so upset because he pardoned his son?
Because if he had just said no comment, I really could have cared less. But the same people who said to me, oh, no, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. If Biden's not like Trump, Biden's not like other politicians, Biden's not like this.
Who said this? I'm still trying to figure out who said this.
What
people? Give me a name. Drop a name so that way they can see this and be like,
people I work with in the media.
Can I get a name?
In the Africa.
You're not going to say a name?
No, I'm not going to say their name.
Why not?
People I work with in the minority media.
No names, it didn't happen.
People I work with at Carolina Panorama newspaper.
Give me a name.
I'm not going. Look it up.
How can I look it up? How can I look it up?
You can Google Carolina Panorama and it'll tell you who the publisher is.
Yeah, but is that who it was? Was it a publisher?
I'm going to say several people.
You say look it up. I can't look it up. Is it a quote? Is it in a paper? Or is it just something they told you in conversation?
Okay. Let's take Donna Brazil.
Is that a name?
That's a yes. She's head of the Democrat. She's former head of the DNC.
Is that the person you talk to?
Okay.
No. Is that a person you talk to?
No.
I'm asking you about the people you talk to.
Okay.
I'm asking you about.
No, I'm giving you an international figure who everybody knows. Donna Brazil. She appears on ABC this week. She's a liberal.
What did she say?
Okay. When all this was coming out, when all this was going on, and people from the right was saying he's going to go back on his word. Donna Brazil is like, no, I've known Biden for 40 years. He's not going to go back. He says he's not going to do this. He's not going to do this. And you know what? He ended up doing it. And then she comes back and she says, yeah, but it's no big deal.
Okay.
Now she is a national figure. Yeah, everybody knows her. She's a black woman with gray hair who's so far to the left that she can't see straight.
I've never seen this woman a day in my
Look. She's on ABC
No, I
this
see it right
week.
now. I tell you, I've never seen this woman a day in my life. I don't know who she is. I'm looking at her now.
Well, you
But
don't watch the
okay,
news. You don't watch the. She's
no,
former
I
head
do
of the
watch the
B.
news. It's just that I don't watch crappy CNN news. I don't
No,
watch crappy Fox News.
this
I
is
don't watch.
not this is not CNN. This is ABC. This is
Okay,
network.
that's the same thing. As far as I'm concerned, CNN, ABC, CNBC, MSNBC, all of that shit's the same thing to me. All these people do is just sit around talking heads, giving opinions, not actual facts. Here's the difference, Seymour. That is not facts. Those are people giving opinions. I watch the news to get information, not to hear people's opinions. I may go to YouTube to listen to people's opinions. If you go and listen to these people for news, you have a long time sitting there
I'm
listening
saying
because it takes a while for them to go to the actual news.
She's a very powerful
Oh, I get what she
person
is. Well,
in politics
okay.
and in media,
she's a political
and
analyst.
she's
a CNN contributor. She was in the Hillary Clinton's campaign during the 2016 presidential election. Yeah, I get what you're saying. She's in the Democratic National. You know what? You know what the deal is, though, Seymour? She's going to say those things. You know why? Because she's part of the DNC. You have to anticipate that people who are on the same political bandwagon are going to take up for theirs people. That's just expected. Like, if you think anything less than that, then I don't know.
There are people out there who will say, look, I agree.
But my thing is, you bring her up like, oh, you mad that she said it. Like, what do you expect her to do?
Okay, I expect
she's a political strategist. She's got to say these things. She's a political strategist. I want to point that out.
Okay, true. But I expect her to say, you
expect her to be honest?
I expect her to be held accountable.
Okay, she can be held accountable. If people hold her accountable, let's say she's lying, but do you expect her to be honest? That's my question. You see that pause? That pause means, oh, well, I guess I shouldn't expect that.
Okay.
You're upset.
No, I'm upset because had Biden at one point said there was a possibility or said no comment or not just commented on this.
He's an old man.
Okay.
So he's going to talk. What do you want? This is what he does. He was too old to be president, but he was president. He was an old man. I can't expect him to keep his mouth shut. Trump doesn't keep his mouth shut. Like, that's what old people do. They talk. Look at you. You've been rambling for like how long at this point?
Let's move on.
An hour and 2 minutes.
Let's move on to the next topic.
No, because I'm still trying to figure out what you're upset about.
I'm not upset at what he did because I expected it to happen. What I'm upset at is that the average, the regular voter who votes that way, and the leadership that said, oh, he's not going to do this, now are trying to cover their asses and say, well, it's no big deal.
Okay, well, it's not a big deal, though.
Because
it's not a big deal.
But it would have been a big deal if a Republican had done it.
Okay, so what? Yeah, it'd be. You know what? Here's a flip side. So, you want to know what the funny thing about it is? Let's say Biden was president during 2016, when Trump was president, and let's say Biden did everything exactly like Trump did. Do you think Republicans wouldn't rip him a new one?
Oh, of course they would.
Okay, then what's your point?
My point is,
you understand hypocrisy. If you said they would, you understand hypocrisy.
My point is that when I look at a politician's actions, okay, I try. I'm not always successful, but I try to maintain a standard of, if it's okay for this person to do it, it's okay for this person in the opposite party to do it. If it's not okay for this person in this party to do it, then it's not okay for the person in the opposite party to do it. There should be no double standards. There are, but part of the reason that people don't trust politicians is because sooner or later, both are going to say, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to be honest. Now, the exception is Jimmy Carter, but he's an anomaly.
He was also considered a bad president.
He was one of the worst presidents.
So then that's a bad example.
But
you know what that shows an example of? When a president is honest, they don't do the job effectively.
No,
Well, well,
no.
well.
He said, "I
Hold
will
on. What did you say
never."
about Jimmy Carter? What did you just finish saying about Jimmy Carter? He was the exception, right?
He was a bad president.
No. Wait. You say he was an exception to what?
To the presidents being honest.
Okay, so if he was an exception to presidents being honest, and he had a bad presidency, what does that tell you about presidents who are dishonest?
No, but he didn't have a bad presidency because of his honesty. He had a bad presidency because of the times in which he lived, which really he came in when we were through an economic tragedy. He came in as a result of Watergate. Okay, he was an unknown, but he lived.
So
Okay,
who was an honest president then?
So, but
no, who's an honest president? Because you said Jimmy Carter was an exception. So I want to know who's
he was
president.
he was honest.
Give me an honest president who also did a great job.
Reagan.
Reagan was honest.
Yeah,
he was an actor. Man spent his entire life learning how to lie and talk to people. He was not honest because Reaganomics didn't work in the grand scheme of it. Reaganomics was a failure.
Okay, so
Reaganomics was a failure.
By that term, then I can pretty much say everybody who was a lawyer, because their thing is lying.
Well, yeah,
are dishonest presidents. That would include the Clintons.
Yep.
That would include the Obamas.
You want to tell me Bill Clinton didn't lie?
Oh, of course he lied.
Okay, then. Yeah.
That would include the Obamas.
Is Obama president? Fine. He's a liar too.
Yeah, he's a lawyer too. So he's
a liar too. That's fine. He's a liar.
Okay,
they're all liars. That's my point. That is really my fine line point. They're all liars.
Okay.
So I don't know what honesty you're expecting. And this whole form of accountability, I mean, people get held accountable different ways. But I don't know what is it that you want to see happen to Biden since he did this? What do Republicans want to see happen to Biden since he did this?
Oh, I don't know what Republicans want. And there's nothing that can be done to Biden. What Biden did was legal.
Then I don't know why people have
but it was not. But whether it was ethical or moral is and I know
we're not having an ethical moral talk.
And I think that people, I think the reason that our electoral system is the way that it is because of the complacency of people that allows these double standards to exist.
What would you want to happen is my question.
That
what would be the consequence?
The voters need to change their mindset about their
and who are you going to vote for? You should change your mindset. What are your options? I love this idea that people always throw out the whole people need to vote differently. To what comparison? What do you like? What's the options?
They're going to have.
Can't answer that one.
No, the options are that people need to say, look, you need to reflect the values of what I bring my kids up to believe.
See, that's the thing about it. Not everyone has kids. So it has to be.
Or the values I was brought up with, or what I believe.
Okay, but what are those values aren't the same? Hold on.
Now, not everybody is.
Hold on a second. With that being said, what if they're liberal and their values aren't the same? Are you going to say he should hold? What if they're pro-choice? Should he have to uphold that value?
Nobody's going to agree with every president, and nobody should agree with every politician on every issue, even if they are a member of the same party. My dad used to say that any person who agrees with any politician 100% of the time on anything either does not do their own thinking or they just don't give a damn.
Yeah, okay. My mama told me you better shop around. We have a lot of isms.
Okay, which is basically the same. So you have to come up with and again, okay, we've agreed that there's a lack of accountability among politicians because there's a lack of accountability among those of us who vote.
Well, I don't know how you hold them accountable is my question. That's what I'm trying to figure out. How do American people hold a politician accountable, and under what measure? Let's say, because you know what? Back in 2020, people were trying to hold Trump accountable, but then you had all the Trump Republicans be like, no, he's doing a perfectly fine job. How do you hold a politician accountable?
Okay.
That's my question.
Here's an example. Uh, the tobacco lobby. At
Can you
one,
give me an example that's in the last 10 years?
yeah, I'm about to give you an example that happened in the past 10 years. Okay. At one point, up to a point, they were the most powerful lobby in, maybe it wasn't 10 years, but
I figured it wasn't. It's not tobacco. Like, no.
okay. What happened is in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay, that's definitely over 10 years ago.
Okay, just let me finish.
The accountability is a point. Don't you remember?
Okay. So people got tired of children being advertised, and they tried to pass these laws, and they went, not only did local but at national level, and they would ask politicians, do you own any tobacco stock? Do you own any? Do you allow these lobbyists into your office, et cetera, et cetera? And if they danced around the question and people did their research, and they would vote that person out of office regardless of political affiliation.
How long was this?
This was in the 90s and early 2000s. So
who was voted out of office?
Several people. I can't name, but several people. And so what happened is politicians got scared and they began to pass laws that, it's. I mean, there are.
So you're gonna tell me that no lobbyists have any control in politics now? Is that
no? They do now. It's the pharmaceuticals.
Okay, so where's the accountability? This is what I said in the last 10 years. Because what's the accountability now?
Let me finish my example.
No. Hold on your example, because the problem with your example is my problem is that nothing in the last 10 years showed accountability. You showed me a time in which it was, and the thing I'm trying to point out. Let me finish my point. The thing I'm trying to point out to you is that so much has changed since 2020. And I don't think anyone's paying attention to it. I don't know how people are missing this. But accountability's out the window. Because there's more lobbyists that it appears than anything else. You still have the NRA, you got you got big tobacco. You have a lot of things that are pushing these fundings through. Who is holding these people accountable?
That's what, if you would let me finish.
Who's
let me. Nobody.
Okay,
that's the point.
Then how is my question though? How do you hold them accountable?
If you let me finish my example.
Your example is dated.
No, my example is the best one that I can come up with, and it is the most recent.
But the problem is it's dated and it doesn't work now. That's the reason why the example.
It doesn't work now because people don't want to take responsibility. People don't want to go to their politician and say.
So Seymour, they're going back to my original question, which you still don't fail to answer. How do you hold them accountable now?
You vote their asses out of office.
How do you do that, Seymour, when people still... Seymour, you're missing the whole... You say vote them out of office. Who's a better choice? Going back to that question. Vote them out of office for who? Who is running for office that is likely to be accountable and do what the people are asking? Who is that person?
I'm saying we need to go back to grassroots.
Okay, grassroots. You know what? That's what the Tea Party was all about. The Tea Party morphed into MAGA. All that was grassroots movement. You realize that, right?
No, but let me finish.
Hold on, no. Forget finish. No, I'm not gonna let you finish because the thing is you're running around, but you're not answering the question.
I'm trying to.
But you're not.
No, but what I'm saying is politicians got so scared that they began to pass laws that, okay, you can't advertise tobacco products on television, in any advertising.
Did that stop people from smoking?
No, but people do smoke less as a result of it.
Do people really smoke less? Because what is vaping?
Well,
it's the same thing.
What I'm saying is that the tobacco lobby is no longer a problem. Okay, now
other lobbies aren't like. Here's your point.
The gun lobbies and the pharmaceutical lobbies are the problems.
Okay, but even then, that still does not answer my question of accountability. It really doesn't. You gave me a story of how once it worked, and even then it still didn't work because tobacco was still being sold at a high volume.
Okay.
And even on top of that, you still can't give me an answer of, well, you got to vote their asses out. Who do you put in?
The person
who is that? I'm asking you, who is that? Who is your dream politician? Give me a name. Who do you feel as if should have ran for president but didn't and would have been a great president? Nikki Haley? Is that what you're going to tell me? Because you talk this talk, but you got to give me names. I'm tired of people talking this talk and not giving me any names. That's why these political conversations are just stupid. Because everybody wants to sit here and be like, oh, well, vote them out. Vote them out with who?
Maybe themselves.
Okay, so how do you get the funding to run for president? Because what was the one thing we said? What's the most expensive thing you can do? Run for president.
But the president is not the most important position.
It doesn't matter if it's the most important position. It is definitely a high position, and it's probably the most powerful position in the earth.
Okay, but the people who control the president are the Congress, and they are elected by us.
Okay, so they're elected. So who are you voting in the Congress? Who's a great candidate for Congress? Give me a name there that's not in Congress.
Me? I don't know.
Yeah, I know you don't know. That's the point I'm making. Seymour, no, you understand the point I'm making then. The fact you can't answer that question goes to show why it's a mute point of hold them accountable. Until you can show me a definitive way to hold them accountable, that is just a talking point that has no resolution.
Okay. The resolution is this, that basically the people who are most of the people who are in politics shouldn't be.
Okay, but they are. And that's not saying anything.
And the reason they're there is because most of the people who should be aren't.
Okay, but that's still not saying anything. That's not answering any of the questions I'm asking.
Okay,
you're saying it's like you come up with some revelation. See, we're not saying anything new.
Okay, let's just move on.
Now you want to move on?
No, okay, go on to your next thing. Because the fact is,
you don't want to come up with
the fact is,
you go to the next
that if people, I've, over the past 20, 30 years, and even to this day, I hear, throw them all out, throw all the bums out, and
Isn't that what draining the swamp was supposed to be?
Yeah, and
how's that working out?
And it's not.
Oh, who's going to hold Trump accountable for that?
Just a minute.
Who's going to hold Trump accountable?
Let me finish.
Who's going to hold him accountable?
Let me finish.
Just answer who's going to hold him accountable.
Let me finish, and I will answer.
No, you can't answer.
Because I'm about to agree with you.
Well, then you're not giving me an answer.
Okay, what I'm saying is,
say, I don't know.
Let me finish. People.
I don't want you to agree with me. I want you to give me an answer.
I'm trying to, and I'm doing it in my way. Okay. Now listen.
You don't have an answer.
If you can, you can say, throw the bums out and start again. That's wonderful, but it's not going to work unless you change your mentality about why you vote for someone.
Still, who is the candidate? Because you can change the mentality, but who is the candidate?
Well, we won't know that until people change the mentality, will we?
Oh, really? Is that what it takes? Change the mentality?
Yes. What's the
mentality to change this, Seymour? Because we all still can't agree on what a good politician is. You would say you want someone who's pro-choice. You would say you want someone who puts faith into their decision making. Is that correct? For your ideal candidate. Tell me your ideal candidate. Hypothetically, if you had a genie, they gave you a wish to create the perfect candidate for whatever position you want in politics, what would be the main foundation of that candidate?
There's no such thing as the perfect candidate.
That's what I'm asking. You had a genie. If you had a genie that can give you one.
Okay. They would be pro-life. They would be pro-military funding, pro-education funding. They would be pro-American jobs funding. They would be.
That's vague. I don't know what that means.
Okay, of course, that's what politicians is vague.
Yeah, but I'm asking you to give me a direct.
I'm giving you. They would be, pro-immigration, illegal immigration.
What is these pro-American jobs? I didn't know what that means.
Okay, It means that we try to create jobs here in America rather than sending them overseas.
But what if some countries are better doing things than other countries?
Then we have to train our people to do them.
Well, then who's going to do the minor job? People say this stuff like being a janitor is a horrible job. Sometimes it's just good to partner with other countries. That computer you have has parts in it that are just better made in other countries.
You're right.
So there's nothing wrong with that partnership or working outside.
That's right. There's nothing wrong with the partnership. But I am saying, as a matter of fact,
but this is your perfect candidate. I just want to know what that meant.
People have an ideal for their candidate, and they have to go in with that ideal, understanding that not everything is going to be fulfilled. So they're going to have to create priorities as to which one comes first. Now that's subjective.
Yeah, because I'm about to say, to a lot of your stance, that person probably would get elected by other people. So your ideal candidate will lose out on some liberals. How would that benefit the country?
Because a lot of my stances, and here's the problem. Here's the problem. At one point, a long time ago, in a land probably before you or even I were born, or at least a long time ago, political parties were formed based upon and their platforms were created based on what was important to the constituent. About 30 years ago, this began to change, in my view, 25, 30 years ago. And people began to allow political parties to tell politicians, if you want to succeed in this party, this is what you have to do. I don't care what your political.
How long was this?
About 30 years ago.
30 years ago. Again, Seymour, times have changed so much since then.
Okay. And then what happened is the political parties began telling us what we were supposed to believe.
Political parties started telling us what we need to be concerned about. And you know what happened? I don't know. I don't know if I can give you an exact pinpoint when that happened, but I'm going to guess this might have happened around 2008. Because
I'll go back further than that.
Yeah, I could go back to the 80s. Because
I go back to 90s.
I bet you could. But the thing is, I say this because when I look at these, if anyone's watching, which no one's watching now, if you go back and watch presidential debates from 80s all the way to now, it's been the same discussions: immigration, economy, foreign affairs. These things can never be solved because we are a country of 300 million people. We'll never have a consensus on how any of this stuff can get fixed. And I understand this is what the states do as far as their own governance. And even then, they can't agree on everything. This idea of holding people accountable is just a fairy tale because people can't hold politicians accountable when they can barely hold themselves accountable.
Exactly.
Especially when they can't even figure out exactly what we all want. So this notion that we have to change our mindset, dude, you're basically talking about restructuring how we do an entire system. The American system is a great system in theory, but when put into practice, it has humongous flaws. And we're about to witness the greatness of these flaws, I think, in the next decade or so.
We're about to witness this within the next year or so.
Well, I didn't want to say that.
But no. Okay, yes, there are flaws because all governments are run by men and all humans are imperfect. Okay? And so there's no such thing as an ideal government. There's no such thing. Okay.
The accountability thing, I just don't understand.
Thomas More's utopia.
Because you wouldn't even think of term limits for the Supreme Court.
I think I don't believe that's a good. I don't believe, and I don't believe that's a good idea simply because, if you have term limits for the Supreme Court, then they are influenced by who is in political office. They're more concerned about.
I think at a certain age, you need to step down.
Okay, well, and
is it not a term limit? After a certain age, you need to just step down.
and I think okay, so we can age limit. I would agree to with age limits,
No, now you agree to age limits. See,
but
and
I wouldn't.
I think
Okay,
that's okay. Fine, go ahead.
okay, I would agree to an age test for competency. Yes, but
I still
uh,
say competency is
and
okay.
actually in South
And some people
Carolina,
just need to retire.
in South Carolina, when you reach a certain age, you have to step down from the state Supreme Court. Unfortunately, our Supreme Court is not appointed by the governor and approved by the state Senate, and we're one of only two states that does this, but it is actually elected by the General Assembly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it is a political thing. And that's something that needs to change. I think that what we need to do, okay, I think that, you know, there's no such thing as an ideal politician. And we need to
I never
get
said it
past.
was, but my whole thing was you. The only reason I bring this up because you kept telling me we need to vote them out. But like with who? To what? What are the options? Marjorie Taylor Greene won her seat again. You probably want to know why? Because it was one of the great options. When bad candidates keep getting the seats back, you got to think who's running against them. Some people run unopposed. You ever thought maybe, just maybe, there could be threats? Some people are like, hey, you run, we're going to take you out. That happens in politics. So where does accountability come in?
I think that maybe I'll run for Congress.
Run for Congress. See what happens.
But in all seriousness,
See what I'm serious about that?
well,
You're lying. Look at that.
I, I, I don't. Yeah, I think this idea of remember hearing must have been about 15 years ago. The William Raspberry, the columnist, he said, he's interviewed on NPR or something, and he was retiring, and they said, well, he said, when I went into journalism, there was not this red state, blue state, purple state crap. Okay. Um, there was just this, okay, they've got to prove themselves here. They've got to, and of course, by that time, he'd been in journalism business for 40 or 50 years, I guess. I don't know. But, and that's why he was getting out. The fact is, I, I don't, our media has become too political. And
our society's become too political. Everything's political.
Well, yeah, okay, you're right. And here's the problem. You go into a house.
Is this on right now?
You go into a house, and I mean, entire divorces actually now are occurring because of political. It's like because you don't agree with them politically. Parents, my sister Christy actually said to me, "Don't repeat this to Anne. Don't repeat this to Frank, or don't repeat this to whoever." You know why? Because if you can't talk about politics,
this ain't new. This has been going on for a while. Maybe new to you, but this has been going on for a little minute.
Why?
This has been happening since the Obama administration, if not earlier. I think it might have been happening since the Bush administration.
Okay, which Bush?
Oh, the second one after Clinton.
Okay, I can see that happening.
To be specific,
if we can't disagree with our own family members on politics, if that's going to break up a Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, you understand the severity of what people see in politics. It's not so much a disagreeing. Some people feel as if now politics has gotten to the point where it's causing harm. Death is what's being spouted. You can say it's the sensitive left. You can say it's the crazy right. But in the end of the day, it's not so much you disagree. You disagree to the point where you want to cause harm to another person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why it's not just a political disagreement. It's a human. There is escalated, magnified. I give you an example. We go back to abortion. People look at the abortion discussion and you see it as you're saving a human life. Other people see it as you're saving a potential life for a known life. Either way, both sides are arguing for life, just different parts of it. That's where the conversation gets lost. The one thing both sides can agree on, a life is at stake. What they disagree on is which life is more important to keep alive.
Well, speaking from the point of I'm myself being a Catholic, um, we fight for both life and mother.
Oh, I know, but in the end of it, which life is more important?
But there's neither life, and neither life is more important.
So you agree with a woman having to get an abortion if it's for medical reasons?
Like an ectopic pregnancy?
Yeah, like if her giving birth to this child could kill her.
Right.
So
that would not, I would not be opposed to that.
Well, what is your limit on abortion? Like, what abortions are you okay with? Let me get that whole list.
Well, okay, so let's take ectopic pregnancy.
Well, you got, okay, that was one, but what's another one? Is there another one?
I think,
because at one point I didn't think you was big on that. I figured just like no abortion. Seems like you kind of,
that would be the ideal.
I know, but that's not possible.
But if you had to come up with exceptions, including exceptions that I would rather not go with, because I have met.
What about incest and rape? Just to get that out the way.
Yeah, well, I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, just because you're taking too long to bring it up. Bring it up.
In South Carolina's,
I'm asking you personally, how do you feel about it? Are you okay with it, or you be like, no, see that child determined?
Personally, or
I'm asking you personally. That's what
personally,
I'm asking you.
Personally, I would like to see it determined.
Okay, see now let's.
But
no, I want to take that. I want to take that as an example because that's what I'm trying to find. The point where I can show you the contention is at. People will look at that and say you don't care about the mother's well-being, psychological damage. There's a lot of factors that throw into there. Those discussions are what's dividing families. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's that fine line. But I don't want to make this about abortion. I want to keep this on the topic of how politics are dividing families.
But those same arguments can be made and have been made, and they've been back them up, that they can be psychological.
Yeah, I know. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that. That's why I didn't want to get into it. I'm just keeping you on the point.
I'm willing to settle for a politician if I had to choose between someone who was abortion up to the 9th month, okay, which Roe v. Wade approved was allowed.
Yeah, I get it. Get to your point.
Or someone who was against abortion, with the exception of rape, incest, life of mother and or child, then I would vote for the latter person. I could see those reasons why those exceptions would be allowed.
I get you, but that's not the point I'm making. You're missing the entire point. You're going on this whole thing, and this is why, Seymour, I want you to look at me and pay attention. I'm just talking about why politics is dividing families. That was your original point. I don't want to make this whole thing about abortion.
Okay, I get your point. Your point is that
you said politics shouldn't be dividing families,
but. I see your point as to why, because the families, because it's dividing families and it's deciding society, because we're taking an all or nothing stance on it. Okay, we are saying there's no room for compromise.
Then how do you feel about those who are in the LGBT community? Because they feel as if, especially conservative policies threaten their livelihoods.
Can you be more specific?
Yes. Trans or care. What is it? What's that care that trans people kind of go through? Oh, give me a second. I'll tell you. But actually, give me a moment. I'll tell you exactly what it is. But yeah, it's those type of beliefs that some
Okay,
people think.
I think.
Oof, let me just
Okay,
close it out.
I do not believe that, I don't agree with the lifestyle. I'm not going to lie there, but I don't agree. I have my younger brother as a partner. He's married to another man. But we have an understanding now. I'm glad Alex is happy. I'm not thrilled about why he's happy, but Tom makes him happy, and he seems like a decent person. Okay, but
Discrimination, employment, housing,
okay,
accommodation,
that should
healthcare
never
access,
that should never happen.
marriage equality.
You mean man marrying? Well, the Supreme
Marriage
Court.
equality, period. Marriage equality. Everyone be able to marry whoever they want. Education policies. A ban on discussing or sexual
Well-
orientation and gender identities in school. Don't say gay bill.
Okay.
Restrictions on inclusive or certain books. That's the thing that's happening. Transgender rights. Laws requiring individuals to use bathrooms or facilities based on their gender assigned at birth. I think we just need to go to unisex bathrooms personally. Just get rid of all that. Freedom of expression.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. I might actually get myself a date.
Hate crime legislations.
Okay, hate crime.
Weakening hate crime protection specifically for crimes based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Lack of enforcement of tracking of violence against LGBT individuals.
Okay, so let me address those. Okay.
There's more.
No. Let's just go with what we already have. Okay.
Well, I mean, there's
then
a lot.
we can continue. Okay, so because I may actually end up going with some. Okay, so
I know
here's what I think.
This is why I said it.
As far as because I've attended the meetings and I don't go to them. As far as books in schools, that's up to the state secretary of education.
The point is, do you agree with it?
Okay.
That's the question. Do you agree with these things? Because these things are causing the divide. You asked me, what is it that LGBT?
I don't think that books should be banned from schools because you disagree with what they are. Okay.
So you disagree with that? Okay.
I disagree because it's a First Amendment issue.
Give me another one then that you do agree with.
Okay. I do agree with the fact that I don't care if you identify. I mean, you if your name if you're a guy and you want to dress as a girl, that's on you. But you have a penis, and you're going to use the boys' bathroom. Okay.
So you don't like the bathroom thing.
So the thing on the blockers. Okay.
Puberty blockers.
I am against allowing that simply because. Number one, there are safety reasons. Okay, they don't know what can cause those kids. Number two, a child can't sign a contract unless they are legally emancipated.
No, the parents can sign off on it.
Okay.
Do you think a parent should be able to sign off on it? Because some parents sign off on it. That's the thing.
I don't agree giving a 12-year-old puberty blockers.
So you think it should be illegal?
I believe, but that I would leave that up to the state.
But do you think it should be illegal? Is my question. You live in a state. Would you vote against it or for it?
I would vote against allowing.
So you're against it.
12-year-old.
Okay, so you're against it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's hard to say.
But laws like that are up to.
It doesn't matter if it's up to the state. Seymour, you're a citizen, are you not? Do you not have an opinion on this? Can you not have an opinion? Yeah. I'm asking you, do you have an opinion on it? That's what I'm asking you.
Okay.
So should it be legal or not? Is my question. If you had your perfect world. That's all I'm asking you. Every question I'm asking you is in Seymour's world, would this be allowed or not? Forget state legislation. You vote. When you're at the ballot and it says yes or no, what are you voting for?
I would not
10 feet down. How do you feel?
I would not. I would not. First of all, the body
It
doesn't.
doesn't matter. The question is, would you vote for it or against it? Yes or no?
I would vote against allowing puberty blockers
Okay,
for
excellent.
kids
What's the
under
next thing?
16.
All right, what's the next thing then?
Okay.
The next thing was hate crime legislation.
There should definitely be hate crime legislation. It should be at a federal level and it should be at a state level.
Policies restricting LGBT individuals from openly serving in the military.
I'm against that.
Okay, you're against that.
That's job discrimination.
Yeah, that goes back to that. Healthcare access.
But well, let me say something.
Well, I guess the thing you're saying, you are for healthcare access. You're against healthcare access because you don't want the kids to have puberty blockers.
No, see, healthcare access. That there are different levels to that, and so again, you can't.
But this is a policy allowing healthcare providers to refuse treatment based on personal beliefs. So if a doctor is okay with it, who are you to tell the doctor and the patient they can't do it? If the parents are willing to sign off on it.
Okay. By the same token, and this has come down, and even in the
even locally, the same token what?
If the doctor believes
there'll be no physical issues.
If the doctor is personally against same-gender relationships, then he shouldn't be penalized because so if you're going to employ that, you have to employ that point of view from both angles.
Okay, but I'm asking you from the standpoint that you say you're against the puberty blockers and all that. If a doctor says yes and the parent says yes, why does the state still have a determining factor?
Because the state depending on the state in which you live in.
No. I'm asking you're voting for this. My question, since you're voting for this, you say you vote yes. Why are you saying the state should have a determining factor if the person says yes and the doctor says yes?
The person can always go to another state.
Okay, again, you're not answering the question. You love dodging the question because you're making a determining factor for a state. Yeah, they go to another state. But again, I'm asking you, why should the government have that type of authority? Republicans love to talk about a small government, but then they want to increase government in personal lives. And then say government shouldn't be in people's bedrooms. But I'm going to ask you this question then. Should there be limitations upon same-sex people adopting or getting kids from foster care?
That depends on if it's an organization
it's not an organization. These are two people, Bill and Dave. They want to
Where are they adopting from?
They're adopted from an adoption agency. What does it matter?
Okay.
They want to adopt a kid.
But it's the adoption agency.
It's an adoption. It's any adoption agency that's qualified. It's a qualified adoption agency. My question is, should these people be allowed to adopt this kid?
Some of those adoption agencies, for example, Catholic services.
Yeah, what's your point? They do what?
The Catholic Church does not believe in same gender marriage.
Okay, but my question is, should they? That's the question. Should they be allowed to?
They should be allowed to adopt if they want to adopt, but they shouldn't. But what shouldn't happen is that, and this happened in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, what happened exactly then?
Is that a same-gender couple walked into a Catholic services agency. Mm-hmm. I think it was in Boston or something.
Is this a one-off? Does this happen often?
Yeah, this happens often.
Okay.
And they said, we want to adopt. And they said, I'm sorry, but, because of our beliefs, we cannot do that. Uh-huh. It got to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, you've got to, or you've got to shut down. So what happened is the Catholic Catholic Services shut down all of its adoption agencies.
What's your point to this then?
The problem with that is all these kids were transferred over to other places. It messed up a whole lot of lives.
I bet it did, but Seymour,
and all they had to do is go to a different adoption agency.
But why couldn't it? But still, the point is, why not just let them adopt it?
Because of the First Amendment.
You talking about the freedom to practice religion? Is that
yes.
What it is? Okay, but I mean,
you cannot force. So
you're looking at it from a church standpoint. So you're taking up for the church. I'm asking just period. I'm not asking religion, because quit trying to nuance this thing. I'm asking you straight up. Should gay people be allowed to adopt? That's a yes or no question. That's all I need. We can move on to the next one. Yes or no? Should they be allowed to adopt?
If they're qualified, they should be allowed.
Okay, that's it. That's
but
all.
They should.
That's it.
But they shouldn't be allowed to adopt. They shouldn't be allowed to put an organization.
No, forget all that. That's different. I'm not asking that question. Quit making up a scenario. Not making up. Quit using scenarios I'm not asking you. Answer the questions I ask you, Seymour. That's all I'm telling you to do.
I mean,
going to the next one. No, we're going to the next one. Because you answered the question, yeah, they should be allowed to adopt. That's all that matters. That's all I care about. Because most people don't think they should be allowed to adopt. Do you think gay people should be married?
No. But the Supreme Court has already ruled on that, so that's irrelevant.
But regardless of irrelevant or not, the fact that you say no just baffles me.
No. It's a moot point because the Supreme Court.
No, I'm asking you, but I'm asking your personal. Seymour, stop for a second. Pause. I'm not asking you anything about legalities. I'm asking your personal belief. I don't care what the Supreme Court said. I don't care what South Carolina says. I'm asking Keith.
My personal beliefs.
Your personal beliefs. That's all I'm asking.
My personal beliefs don't make
it doesn't
a
matter.
Difference.
I'm asking Seymour. Stop. This is why I hate having these conversations with you, because you act like you can't have your own opinion.
I have my own opinion.
I'm asking you for it then.
Personally, I don't think that same gender people should be allowed to marry.
Okay,
but
then.
Fact
is, stop right there. I don't care about the rest of the fact. I'm asking you only what you think.
What I think. You know what I think.
No, I don't hear. No, they don't know what you think, Seymour. They don't know what you think. That's what I'm asking you. Seymour, look at that right there. See, that's the reason I'm asking you. Because you're doing this for the show. I'm asking you so they can know. I don't care about Supreme Court. I don't care about stop. Calm down. Stop and breathe. I'm not asking you about Supreme Court. I'm not asking you about state legislation. I'm asking Keith, Howard Seymour, in a perfect world that you control, how would these things operate?
I don't control the world.
No, God damn it, Seymour. I'm done. No, I can't even do this with you.
No.
I know you don't control the world, Seymour.
I don't believe.
All right, then. That's fine. Okay. That's fine. Then move on.
That makes no difference because of the Supreme Court ruling in 2015.
Seymour, I know it doesn't make a difference, but I'm asking you for your own personal take. Seymour, this is why I don't want to do this, because you can't have these conversations like this. I'm asking conversation on your personal belief. I know the laws. I told you. We talked about Obama passing it. You don't have to remind me. I'm asking you. That's it. I don't care about the law. Why can't you just answer these questions from your personal opinion and keep it that way?
Because
why can't you just simplify these conversations?
Because if the law overrides my
it doesn't care. I don't, Seymour. I don't care. I just gave you a scenario about a genie. Genies don't exist. And you went with that? Do you not have an imagination? Are you not a writer?
I'm also a journalist.
Okay, but you're not we're not doing any journalism right now. You're not writing anything. This is not about being factual. This is about your opinion. I don't give a fuck about the facts. I'm asking your opinion. I want to know what Seymour thinks.
That's the
fact. What does Seymour think? That's a fact. This is what you factually think. That's a fact.
I told you what I think.
Okay, that's it.
But I've also pointed out
Seymour, you don't
that
need to
it
point
makes
it out.
no difference.
Seymour, the thing is, you're not listening. Because what I'm telling you is, I know it's irrelevant. I know it's irrelevant. If I knew, I'm done. Finish the show by yourself.
Okay, we're out. I get where you're going.
No, you don't, because you can't seem to follow instructions. So no.
No. Okay, we're out. Okay.
You can't follow simple instructions. I know what the Supreme Court ruling is. I'm just trying to get your opinion.